on my two groups. Let me just verify that before I go any further. So let's look in the Nurse Entrepreneur Summit Facebook group and see. Yep, I see myself there. And let's look at the Public Health Consulting and Subcontracting group. All right. I am live. Hello, hello, hello. Beautiful people, good evening. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got a lot of great content. I know people will trickle in. There's definitely going to be questions that I'm sure you are going to have for me. Please put those questions in the chat. I want to answer all of the questions that you have for me on this evening. And also, if you're listening and tuning in, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Let's go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone. I'm Quisha Umemba. I'm super excited to be having this curriculum licensing Q&A with you. I forgot to turn my ticker on there. I can talk, for those of you that know me. And the last time I did something like this a couple of weeks ago, it ended up being 2 hours long. I don't want to do that tonight, but I can probably tell you it's probably going to be a solid, 45 minutes. And that's if you all don't have questions. If you have questions, I am here for you to answer any questions that you have. You're going to see me looking away from the screen. One, I have my cell phone here that I'll be glancing at from time to time to make sure that I'm still streaming. I am using a new feature tonight. It's called Restream. Not feature, but a new tool. And it's very similar to Yardstream that I've used in the past, but I actually think I like it better. I don't know why. It just seems more user-friendly. I also work on two screens, two monitors, and I have notes over here. I'm going to share my slide in a little bit later and show you some things on screen. So you'll see me looking over here from time to time as well, because there's so much information that I want to share with you all. And I don't want to forget anything. So for those of you that know me, when I do these, I like to give it all as much as possible, so that I do one kind of one and done take or recording when I'm doing these sessions. So let's go ahead and get started with the Q&A session. Again, for you all that may not be familiar with who I am, my name is Quisha Umemba. I'm the CEO of Umemba Health LLC, which is a public health and education consultancy. So we help healthcare organizations and public health systems to educate their frontline workforce, to empower their leadership, and to expand their community presence. I've had or been in business for just over 3 years. And we're probably most known for training community health workers. Matter of fact, I have on one of my colleagues' CHW shirts today. I built my business off the business of training, the business of education, the business of learning. And so with my expertise and my background, I saw a lot of success in a relatively short amount of time. And so I always love sharing what has worked for me, because I think that it would also work for other entrepreneurs and public health consultants or nurse consultants, because I know I've got two groups and two audiences that I'm talking to tonight. So welcome those of you that are watching from the Nurse Entrepreneur Summit Facebook, and welcome those of you that are watching from my public health consulting and subcontracting Facebook group. I'm so glad to have you all here tonight. Now, you're also probably familiar with my personal brand, QU Consulting, or Quisha Umemba Consulting. I'm actually going to speak from the lens of the CEO of Umemba Health tonight, because the things that I'm sharing with you tonight have been tried and tested with Umemba Health, not necessarily with my personal brand. But the help that I'm going to offer you at the end of this, if you're so inclined, will definitely be services that come along with my personal brand. I don't really want to share any more about myself other than the way that I serve. I like to speak. I like to train. I do a lot of that. And I like to do consulting as well. A lot of people refer to me as a mentor or a coach. I know that those are titles, but I really prefer to myself to be more of a consultant. And I do think there's a writer in there somewhere. I'm just kind of sitting on that. I don't think you can develop curriculum. It's certainly not as much many curricula as I have developed and not be a writer. I've been a registered nurse for 15 years. I have been in public health for 8 years. I've been a nurse educator or certified diabetes care and education specialist for 8 years. And nurse planner. That's the most important thing. I've been a nurse planner for right at 10 years. And so a nurse planner is someone that oversees educational activity for both like nursing continuing education or continuing medical education. And so like I said, I bring a lot of experience and expertise to the table when it comes to training and developing. So with that being said, let's get into it. I want to talk about why I got started and how I got started. Then I'm going to give you 7 tips for getting started, or 7 tips for considering getting started with licensing your curriculum. And then I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. Now, this is an informal session, so if you have some questions that you would like to pose, then go ahead and put those in the chat. I've got my chat here where I can see it. And so if it's the right time, I'll go ahead and interject and answer your question. If I think it's better suited to wait to the end of the Q&A session, then I will do that at that time. So why did I even start licensing my curriculum? Basically, I identified a gap. I identified a need. I remember when I first started training community health workers about 2.5 years ago, all of the curriculums were horrible. They were old, they were outdated, they were not easily adaptable or even relatable to my learners and to adult learners. They were hard to access, first of all. And so, maybe you would go to one particular page, but then the link wouldn't be working, or, the references, those links and pages wouldn't, it was so difficult to find a curriculum that had already been done that was actually worth something. And so I did, as many people do, I created my own curriculum. My first curriculum was trash. Probably my first couple of iterations of that curriculum were trash. They're horrible. And if you're developing curriculum, then that's just something that you should expect as you get more well-versed in training and development and how to do professional development, continuing education training. You should continue to revise your curriculum. You should continue to get that feedback and make those improvements. And so we noticed over time that as we were making improvements, we were getting a lot of great feedback from our students about how our training was different from other organizations. I would even get emails saying, "Hey, Quisha, I'm going to this particular program, getting my my CHW certification, but I want to come to yours. And in Texas, you actually can't transfer. So, you have to stay with the one that you have started with, or you just have to start all over at another program." So I know we struggle. When I first started thinking about, well, what if we actually licensed our curriculum? Because I really want to focus more on the CHW trainer than the CHW themselves. I said, I started asking other instructors and other trainers, like, what challenges have you had when finding curriculums for training CHWs? And again, it was some of the same exact things that I knew. They were old, they were outdated, they were hard to find, they weren't easily adaptable. And then when you would make your own training, it took you a lot of time, it took you a lot of money, it was a lot of frustration. And then if you're working for an organization and you're not the curriculum developer or the content writer, if you're doing other things, providing education or making referrals or, supervising people, curriculum development is not something that you have time to even do. I've talked to organizations that have been this close. I say organizations, one organization, I'm not gonna fib, that was this close to actually hiring someone that can come in and create a CHW training curriculum for them, because that's how bad they wanted a curriculum. And then when I did my curriculum demonstration, they were blown away. This is our solution, Quisha. We were just about to hire someone. Do you know how much money and time and headache and frustration you're saving us with this curriculum? So that's how I got started. And I'm going to tell you, I actually started announcing that I was going to have a curriculum available for licensing almost a year to the date that I did it. In January 2022, I initially started out sending notifications to all of my CHW instructor alumni, or those that had graduated through our program and were CHW instructors, saying, remember, Health is creating a curriculum. It's going to be available in the fall of 2022. If you're interested, join me for this informational session, something very similar to what we're doing right now. And I had no idea. I had not talked to a lawyer at this time. I knew it was going to take some time. I knew we had to revamp our curriculum. I knew I had to hire someone to help me do that. But I knew it was going to be done. It was on my, I don't have a vision board, but it was on just kind of like my annual plans or goals. I was going to have this curriculum done by the end of 2022, and I actually licensed it to the first client in December of 2022. So that's kind of where I was, why I got started, and how I got started. I also want to say that I didn't know for sure if people would have been interested in it. And that's another reason why I started advertising or saying, hey, we're going to be licensed in our curriculum, because I wanted to see if people would bite. I was kind of using that as the bait to see if people would be interested in this. And so once I started getting people, I would have students and partners emailing me, when is that curriculum going to be ready? When are we going to be able to have a look at it, take a look at it? So once I started getting that momentum and people were interested in it, then I was like, okay, there's definitely a need for this. So it's something that I need to go ahead and pursue. So I've got lots of tips for you. I want to go ahead and get started with those tips. And I've also written down quite a few questions that others have asked. I'll put those at the end because I want to make sure that I get all of your questions first before I answer some of those other questions. So we're about 12 minutes into it. I think I'm doing really, really good on time. I'm going to go ahead and start with tip number 1, 7 tips for getting started with curriculum licensing. And so the first tip is, do not wait until your curriculum is perfect. Implement it, get feedback on it, revise it, and implement it again. You heard me say earlier, my curriculum was trash. I knew it was trash. Chances are your first version of your curriculum is going to suck also. That is okay. You want to get as much feedback about your curriculum, about your training methods, right? About the activities, just about the interaction and engagement level, everything, as much as possible so that it can inform your quality improvement processes. And this is one thing that I want you to keep in mind as well. If you know you've not been using this curriculum or this training very long, if you're going to start training people with it, or even if you're going to license with it, and you know that it hasn't gone through a second or third, fourth, or fifth revision, keep your pricing consistent with the quality and the content of the curriculum. I did not charge what I charge now for my curriculums and for my training programs because my quality and my content was not where it is right now. Right now, however, I know I have a great product. It's been tested time and time again. It's been highly reviewed. In fact, you can go visit our Google reviews. Umemba Health, we have 5 stars. I think 17 was the last. But internally, even we've got a lot of feedback because we are always asking our students every semester and every cohort about how we're teaching, about our activities, about our exercises, about our supplemental ancillary materials. So just make sure to keep your pricing consistent with that quality and content of the curriculum, which should get better through each iteration. Okay, so tip number 2, this is extremely important. Do not throw anything away and back up everything, okay? So as you make revisions and updated versions, just archive old stuff, old training, old PowerPoints, old handouts, old outlines, archive it. You never know what you will need to refer back to. And save everything. I remember a couple of years ago, I lost everything. I cannot remember exactly how it happened, but I lost everything. It was before I moved my business from Google to Microsoft Suite. And I said, I will never, ever experience this again. And so, so now my entire business runs off the Microsoft 365 stack. And of course, we've got SharePoint and we've got OneDrive, and I am like double backed up for everything. So save everything so you can refer back to it. And also, if you're going to be doing continuing education, CEUs, CUs, whatever you want to call it, then you'll definitely want to keep everything as well, because depending on your accreditor, you're going to have to maintain records for a certain amount of time. So don't throw anything away, save everything. Okay, so here is tip number 3, hire a lawyer. Hire a lawyer. You're going to need help with at least your copyright if you want your curriculum to be copywritten. You may want to do a trademark as well. So I don't have my little TM symbol above my my business name. However, I have submitted my trademark, so I can use the little TM if I want to do that. And my curriculum also has been submitted to the Copyright Office as well. You also will need a lawyer to help you with your curriculum licensing agreement. I believe mine is like 11 or 12 pages long. It covers a lot of information. I would strongly recommend, if you seriously want to consider curriculum licensing as a revenue stream, going ahead and just paying for a consultation with a trademark and copyright lawyer even before you get started. You want to know exactly what you're looking into as far as the process goes. And I'll tell you why. So according to my lawyer, there's about 18 different licensing models that you can choose, and it will take you some time before you decide on which model works best for you and your business. And if you're watching and you're interested in knowing the model that I chose and what works for me, then just put it in the chat. I'll be sure to share when I'm done with my presentation here in a little bit. So a couple more things to note about your lawyer. So they're going to help you file trademark, help you file copyright. So when you file your copyright, keep in mind it does take about 3 to 5 months generally for your copyright registration to be completed and received. But you can move forward in using your works within your brand and your business once you submitted that copyright. So I have not gotten the official notice saying, hey, this curriculum has been approved for copyright by the U.S. Copyright Office. However, because it's been submitted to the office, I can use it and still have the same protections. Now, here's something that I was not aware of when it comes to curriculum licensing that I think is very beneficial for you to know. If you make any significant changes in your curriculum, I'm not talking about going in and changing a picture or going in and changing, a misspelled word, but if you're revising like a second iteration or addition of your curriculum, that also has to be sent back to the Copyright Office, and another application for copyright has to be received. And so in my particular circumstance, my curriculum has 3 components. There's 10 core modules, there's 10 intermediate modules, and there's 5 advanced modules. When I first sent my copyright, I sent just the first 10 modules. That was one fee, and that was one set of legal fees. The second set of modules, the second set of 10, was another copyright application and another legal fee. And so you get what I mean. Now, if the entire curriculum was done at the same time, could I have sent the entire thing at once? Absolutely. But the entire curriculum was not done at the same time. And then your trademark. So your trademark can even take longer. It can take 8 to 12 months to process. But trademark protection does begin on the date, just like copyright protection, that you file. So on the date you file, you can begin using the little TM that I was talking about. Your mark, you can start using that to put others on notice that you're reserving your trademark rights. Now, no one has asked this question, but one of the questions that I'm often asked is how much is this going to cost in legal fees? And it really just kind of depends on the lawyer that you go with. In preparation for this Q&A session, I actually went to my QuickBooks account and looked to see how much I paid. And so I paid just slightly under $6,000 so far. $150 for the initial consultation, and then I had a trademark package, which was a couple $1,000s, and then I had a copyright package that was a couple of $1,000s, and then the curriculum licensing agreement, I think that was $1,000. So I'm just under $6,000 in legal fees. But again, depends on the lawyer that you go to, depends on, the other services that you may or may not need, but it is definitely something that you need to consider. Okay. Now let's talk about tip number 4. Be patient. Okay. Luckily for me, even though this was a goal, like a December 2022 goal of mine, this was nothing that anybody was rushing me for. This was nothing that I had to have done by a certain time. Thankfully, I had been teaching CHWs at that time for almost about 2 years, definitely about 18 months. And so, I didn't have, I guess I wasn't paying bills with it, is what I'm trying to say. Also, do not license or try to license a curriculum that has not been tested. Okay, that's first and foremost. So, like I said, I was training CHWs for about 18 months before I even started doing the curriculum for that I'm currently licensing now. Also, don't create or license a curriculum that there is no market for. And so when I say be patient, I'm saying this could be a 12-month, 18-month, 24-month process. And that's if you have content developed already. So if you don't have content developed already, especially if you're not familiar with curriculum development or CE accreditation or things like that, then this really is not like just the fast meal ticket. Training is, and I would recommend that you do train, because you need to train, make sure that your curriculum makes sense, make sure that it sees results and people are transformed by it. But I'm not recommending that you license it until you can actually start seeing some of those results. Okay. Tip number 5, hire a professional to create a branded look for you. Now, if you're really good at graphic design, I know I've got some friends that, they love Canva, they can do some great things on Canva, then hey, by all means do it. For me, I like Canva. It's not, I don't just love it. And I also don't love the time that it takes for me to create things. I hired a graphic designer because I wanted a branded look. I wanted my PowerPoint templates and my worksheets and my handouts and my lesson plan template and all of those things to have a consistent look and feel to them. Also, my lawyer informed me if I wanted certain icons to be used to represent the different core competencies that you have to train CHWs to. And she said, well, if we're licensing this curriculum, you can't use icons that you would go find on the internet. You can't use clip art that is readily available. You can't copyright those things. And so she actually told me the standards in which my graphic designer could create special icons. So it had to be using certain technology, or it could be hand drawn icons, which she did not do hand drawn icons. But those are the things that I had to consider, because I'm basically saying that this curriculum is something that no one else is using. The icons are things that no one else is using. And so you need to, really think about that. Another reason I hired a graphic designer is it was time saving. I didn't have the time to do it myself. I got a really good rate. Now, if you look at my curriculum, is it super, snazzy and fancy and have all these? No, it's not. It's industry standard. It's something that can apply in all settings, in all organizations. And so it's very simple. Actually, it's very simple. But it does have a consistent look and feel to the branding of it. So it looks really professional. As a matter of fact, if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, I actually have a little ticker here. You can download a sample course of my CHW training curriculum by visiting umembahealth.com/free CHW course. Okay. I'll share that again at the end of our session tonight. So tip 6, and I'm almost done with my tips here, is one of the most important because this is what's going to really impact the amount of money that you make. So tip 6, you want to not just license your curriculum. You want to upsell, okay? package your curriculum with other services that you offer to increase the value of that offering. For instance, anyone that licenses my curriculum, they automatically get mandatory instructor implementation training, mandatory technical assistance, and those services are not optional. They're intended to ensure that the licensees know how to implement my curriculum using my framework, right? Is it framework that I actually developed or framework that I'm using from the training profession? It's framework that I'm using from the training profession, but it's still what makes my curriculum special, right? And so even though they're licensing this, I have to make sure that they're teaching it in a way that represents mental health. So they get that train the trainer training, and they also get that technical assistance, which TA in public health world is just another way of saying consulting. You have to just be creative. Some organizations will pay for technical assistance, but they won't pay for consulting. So I actually wanted to show you, because I think I can share my screen. I think I figured out how to do it earlier. Exactly what's included in my packages. So if you're seeing my screen, I think you can see it because I can see it. If you're seeing my screen right now, let me go back, add to the stream. Oh, there we go. If you're seeing my screen right now, what you're seeing is a slide inside of my my pitch deck. So every month we do a curriculum licensing webinar and demonstration. And this is how I've packaged my curriculum. This is what my upsell looks like, so to speak. So the curriculum model that I chose along with my lawyer that works the best for my business is lifetime access. So they license the curriculum for a flat fee. They get lifetime access to the curriculum. And then they get all updates and revisions because we're continuously creating new things and handouts and all of that. They get all of those revisions for 1 year at no additional cost. Okay. Now, this is a way that I'm able to upsell if a year later or 2 years later, we've continued to add to the curriculum. There's new activities, there's new instructional methods, there's new handouts. If they want to then get access to those things, it comes at additional cost. Okay. Now, everyone that licenses the curriculum also gets mandatory instructor implementation training. And so that training consists of a 1 hour online course, train the CHW trainer. And actually, I got my workbooks. They just came. So this is a 100-page workbook. I'm not releasing them on Amazon yet. I'm doing a final edit. God, it feels like forever. But they get this workbook. They do a 1 hour CE training, and then they do a 4 hour or half-day workshop that goes over that framework that we use to provide our training. So that is mandatory when the curriculum is licensed. And then the last thing they get is technical assistance. Again, that's consulting. And the reason I did this is because I noticed that as organizations were licensing the curriculum, they would come back and say, oh, can you help us apply to get certified, to get accredited? Can you help us apply for continuing education? Can you help us get started? Can you help us with really just kind of the format and the delivery of the program? And that really wasn't something that I had factored into it the first time. So I quickly revamped to say anyone who licenses this curriculum and depending on the package gets X amount of hours. So I do have currently 3 packages. Package A comes with a lifetime license, 2 instructors being trained, and 3 hours of technical assistance. Package B is the curriculum lifetime access, 4 instructors being trained, and 6 hours of technical assistance. And package C is, of course, the curriculum, 6 instructors can be trained, and 9 hours of technical assistance. So that's what I mean when I say upsell. Don't just license your curriculum. Make sure you package it with other services. Make sure you increase the value and ultimately increase the bottom line in the amount of money that you're going to receive as well. Okay, so let's see if I can stop the screen share at this time. And we're going to go to our last tip before I see if there are any questions for me and answer questions and open the floor. So my seventh tip, not my last because I've got a bonus, but the seventh tip really is to get started now. Get started now. There's never been a better time. If you've heard me say it before, I always will say, package your genius and monetize your skill set. And if you're in the healthcare public health field, one of the ways to package your genius and monetize your skill set is to develop a training curriculum, get it certified for CEs, and license the curriculum. If it's a train the trainer type of curriculum, like I talked about with my curriculum, Train the CHW Trainer, which is not the one that I'm licensing, by the way. I'm licensing my CHW training curriculum, but I may be licensing this one soon. It just depends. I want to hold on to this one a little bit longer. But if it is a Train the Trainer curriculum, that is even better. But seriously, there has never been a better time to get started with licensing your curriculum or get started with training individuals. I've been able to walk away from a six-figure job in corporate America because of the fact that I know how to develop curriculum. I know how to deliver training that is impactful, that actually gets results, sees results, and transforms individuals and organizations. So believe me when I say there's never been a better time. Now, of course, I have to give you a bonus tip. What is that bonus tip? I forgot what that bonus tip was. Let me look at my notes. I didn't even put it there. Let's see what the bonus tip is. Well, I'll be darned. I put it there. There was something that I wanted to say, but now I can't remember what it was. Oh, well. So let's answer some questions that I'm often asked, and then I'll see if there are any other questions that are here that anyone has for our session tonight. Oh, quickly, if you're watching and you're interested, I've got a freebie for you all just to thank you all for joining today. Let me see if I can pop that up here. It's in the top. There it is. There it is. There it is. So you don't have to put in your email. You don't have to put in your name. You don't have to do any of that. It is a curriculum development checklist. It's actually one that I use with my Train the CHW Trainer workshop. You'll see it branded with my Umemba Health business. You can go ahead and just scan the QR code there with your camera, and it will take you to a Dropbox document where you will have a short, I think 3-minute video on the checklist and how to use it to develop a curriculum. So that's my free gift to you for tuning in tonight. And I hope that helps you to get started training and developing curriculum if you have not already. Okay, questions. So here's a question. Who helped me develop my curriculum? Great question. Hold on just a second. It's decaf, I promise. Great question. So one, as I stated earlier, I've been a nurse planner for about 10 years, which means I have been a nurse either in a healthcare facility or in a public health agency, where I've been on a planning committee of educational activities and developing educational content. So first and foremost, I don't want to say no one helped me develop curriculum, but I developed every single curriculum. And I think right now we've got 50 plus training curriculums and workshops just with Umemba Health alone. But I developed all of those. Now, when I got ready to put my training curriculum together, which is 25 modules, I did hire one of my instructors, actually, who is just really good with attention to detail and proofreading and editing. And she could just see every error and grammatical mistake. And sometimes it kind of gets on my nerves because, I mean, just the littlest thing. But I needed someone that has the type of attention to detail. And so she helped me to put it together, to package, to streamline it. We had a checklist after every one just to kind of make sure that every module had the same footer and had the same font and had the same this and that. So I did have her assist in the curriculum that we're currently licensing. Now, here's a fun story. My original curriculum that I used when I first started training community health workers, and the one that I used to get accredited as a training site that I said was trash, remember? That curriculum, I hired 2 virtual assistants from the Philippines. And we put that curriculum together. I want to say it was less than 3 months. I want to say it was 2 or 2.5 months. And basically, I would write, and then I would send to one to how did I would write. I would send to one to organize, proofread, and edit, and then she would send to the other VA to put it into PowerPoint. And so we had this. I mean, it just seemed like I was just writing and writing and writing nonstop. I just ate, slept, and breathed developing that curriculum because it's a 160-hour curriculum. Again, it was horrible. I know it was horrible. It was not very well put together, but it was good enough that it got us approval to be a training site by the Texas Department of State Health Services. Let's see here. Second question. Okay. What happened to my screen? There we go. How did I price my curriculum? Oh my God. That was my bonus tip. Okay, I got to put this back on. I completely forgot because I didn't write any notes. That was my bonus tip. So this is the bonus tip, okay? When it comes to licensing your curriculum, do not give people a price for your curriculum without knowing for sure that is the price that you're going to charge, okay? Let me tell you what I did that messed me up. When I first had that info session in January 2022, and it was mostly all of my alumni, all of my past students that had graduated from the CHW instructor course, I said, oh, I'm going to license the curriculum. I'm sure it's not going to be any more than $5,000. That's what I said. When I talked to partners, and then they went and told their employer, and then I was meeting with them throughout the years, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's not going to be any more than $5,000. And I had no idea at that time how much to charge for a curriculum. So I remember talking to my lawyer about it. I don't know which session this was by that time, because when you work with a lawyer on licensing your curriculum, you meet with them several times to go over everything. And we were on the session where we were talking about, like, Quisha, how much are you gonna charge? And I said, oh, I've been telling people $5,000. And we were actually on the phone. She's kind of retro. She doesn't do the Zoom much. We do telephone visits. And she got really quiet. And I said, are you there? And she said, did you say $5,000? And I said, yeah. And she was like, no, you're not. No, you're not going to save companies all this time and all this money and all this headache from not having to hire a content writer or a curriculum developer or an instructional designer or a copywriter. No, you're not going to charge $5,000. And I didn't even think anything of it until she said that. It really put into perspective, like, Quisha, you know how much it costs. You've worked with agencies before that have hired vendors to do instructional design, to develop curriculum. And I know for 1 hour of CE, I was working with a vendor with one of my clients that I have now, Signify Health, and we paid them almost $10,000 for 1 hour of CE. And when I thought about that, I was like, oh my God, she's right. I can't charge $5,000. However, what ended up happening is when it was time to license the curriculum, my students, my former students, the alumni, my affiliate instructors, they said, well, Quisha, we told our agency you said it was going to be $5,000. Like they were willing to go with $5,000. And so for service recovery, right, to maintain that level of professionalism and to secure the organization as clients, what I did was I stood by the $5,000 for the curriculum. However, I went back to them and said, at the time when I quoted you that, instructor implementation training was not a part of the curriculum, and technical assistance was not a part of the curriculum, and it is now. So I'm going to have to charge you the amount that it costs for the training and the technical assistance, aka consulting. And so I was able to get not quite $10,000, but I was able to get a little bit more still honor the $5,000 for the curriculum, but don't share or tell people that it's going to be one price, because when you get finished, after the legal fees, after the time, after hiring someone else to put it together, after doing all of that stuff, you want to be able to recoup your money. And not to say you're going to do that with one client, right? But you want to be able to have a nice, substantial payday, even just from licensing it to one organization. So that was the bonus tip. I remembered the bonus tip then. Okay. All right. So let's see. Any other questions? Any other questions? Hello to you all that have joined late. I've been talking for 40 minutes now. I promised this was going to be at least a solid 45 minutes on my part, and that's without questions. So I have kept my promise. So another question is, type of licensing model. So my model that I chose, and again, this was based on the recommendation of my lawyer. There's about, she says, 18 different curriculum licensing models. We went through everything. I mean, not all 18, but we talked about so many different licensing models. And at the end of the day, I didn't want so much work to come back on me. I thought about licensing it on an annual basis. But then she would say, well, how are you going to make sure that after 365 days, the organization is no longer going to be using that curriculum? And are you going to always have legal representation to send cease and desist letters? And how are you going to? And so she would throw all these questions at me. And I'm like, I don't want to track all of this. I don't want to do all of this that you're asking and requiring. I just want it to be really, really simple. And she said, well, then it sounds like you need a lifetime licensing model. And I asked her, okay, well, what exactly does that look like? And she said, well, you give them lifetime, the opportunity to use the license or curriculum forever. However, you give them a limited time where they can access revisions and updates and enhancements and things like that. And she said, if you want to continue to have repeat business, then you create, enhance the curriculum and you sell the revisions, you sell those enhancements. And so that's what I decided to go with, because first of all, the content that I'm training to, social determinants of health equity, social justice, cultural competency, those things are not going to change from year to year, even decade to decade anyway. So being able to say, you've paid one time for this curriculum, you can use it forever. Now, when I do my pricing, though, I kind of use what I refer to as equity pricing. This is something that I coined. My lawyer did not say this, but I price based on the organization's ability to train. So if it's a sole proprietor or small nonprofit, their budget is not very large. Their resources, they don't have the capacity to go out and train very many community health workers. So my pricing is one way for them, but it's completely different for a healthcare system or a large public health department that has a huge, multi-million-dollar budget, lots of resources, and a higher capacity to go out and train maybe thousands of community health workers over the lifetime of that license, that curriculum license. So that's how I price my curriculum for that question there. How do I sell my curriculum? That's a great question. So the great thing about having a training business, and I didn't talk about Umemba Health Academy earlier, but Umemba Health Academy is our virtual campus for community health workers, community health worker instructors, and other frontline public health professionals. And we are teaching by quarter. So we have spring semester, we have summer sessions or boot camps, and we have fall semester. So the great thing is word of mouth is still the best way to get business. Our students, they love us. They love our training. They go and tell their employer. They go and tell their friends. They go and tell their colleagues. And so we're constantly getting, people added to our email list, or people coming to our free or low cost webinars, or downloading, many of our free checklists and tools and downloadables. And so once they're in our email list, then there's an opportunity where we can then pitch our services to them. What I have found has been the most helpful has been having our monthly curriculum demonstration and licensing webinars. As a matter of fact, we have them every third Friday of the month. They're right at about an hour, just kind of depends on who's there. I go over the pitch, and I actually showed you all one slide of the pitch. I go over the pitch, who we are, why we did this, what's the problem, here's our solution, how much does it cost, how we can help you, what's the process, these are the next steps, this is what you can expect, click to get started here. It's that type of thing now. So we do that. And then just most recently, we actually just started giving a sample course. And we actually just started this earlier this week. We had over 50 organizations download the free sample course within 2 days. We're on target to have 100 organizations download this incredible free resource by the end of the week, which is tomorrow. So I'm super, super excited about that. And I've gotten a lot of responses or website inquiries because they have downloaded this free resource. They saw how we put our curriculums together, and now they want to know more about the curriculum licensing. And so in this sample course, there's a lesson plan, there's a facilitator guide, there's a PowerPoint presentation with scripted presentation notes. There's a couple of handouts. So one is because it's a social determinant of health course. One is a SDOH worksheet. Another is learner engagement strategy handout. In fact, the only thing that's not included is the pre-post test evaluation and the certificate of completion. But I think it's a fabulous resource and people can use it. It's also free advertising, right? Because you've got Remember Health plaster on every single slide and in the footer. So anytime someone teaches with it, trains with it, shows it to someone in their organization, then people visit our website and sign up for some of our other free resources and things like that. Let's see, any other questions? I think we can keep this under an hour. I want to pull up my notes to see if there's anything else. There actually are a few things that I just want to leave you with, other considerations. And these are things that I'm actually dealing with right now. As a matter of fact, my lawyer called and I was in a meeting, so I'm going to have to call her tomorrow. So when you're thinking about licensing your curriculum, there will be questions posed and issues that come up that you would not have really thought about or known about until they come up, right? So one of those, my most common question, again, I'm here in Texas, is, do you have it in Spanish? Do you have it in other languages? Can we translate this in other languages? Until last week, after I had a meeting with maybe the third organization, and I'm like, I'm losing out on money because I won't sell the translations rights. Until last week, I was not interested in allowing people to get my curriculum and translate it. And so a couple of things happened. One, I thought about the revenue potential that I'm missing out on. Two, I tend to look at things from a health equity or an equity standpoint in general. And I thought, man, if ABC, I'm just using an example here, if community A speaks a certain dialect of Spanish and community B speaks another dialect of Spanish, does it really make sense for us to translate? And that's what I've been telling organizations. Just give me another year. It's on our 2024 goals. We're going to translate this in Spanish. It's going to be available for you. But if we translate it in Spanish, it's really not going to serve every single community. However, if I sell those rights, those translation rights to the organization that's purchasing or licensing the curriculum, they can then translate to serve, whatever community or all the members in the different communities that they're serving. So that's the conversation that I need to have with my lawyer when I call her back tomorrow, because I want to know what that looks like. Do I charge more to sell those translation rights? Do I, what are the ramifications legally? What are just so many things in general that I don't know about that. Other things you want to think about, there's some organizations that have wanted to license the curriculum, that wanted so many things taken out of the agreement because maybe they're a city or a county and you can't do certain things with city funds, or you can't sue the city, right? They're public stewards. And so I have turned down an organization because they wanted too many changes to the agreement. And by the time they got finished taking out and requesting to remove so many of the clauses, I just didn't feel like it was safe, or it was just worth me even having a contract for that matter. Now, I have had organizations say, can we get mutual indemnification? I actually think she used the word reciprocal, but the term is mutual indemnification. And I certainly don't mind. And we were able to adjust the contract that way. Keep in mind, though, that each organization may want something a little bit different. And every time that happens, that's another conversation with your lawyer to make those changes in your agreement, so that, everything is up and up as far as legal is concerned. And then think about how you're going to protect your intellectual property. I personally chose PowerPoint because, one, it is the industry standard. Most organizations, healthcare and public health, are going to utilize Microsoft, or they're going to utilize, and they're going to utilize PowerPoint. So I know from developing a lot of curriculum and for working with organizations when we're developing content that you can restrict your editing in documents, in Word documents and in PowerPoint documents. So for my curriculum that is licensed, it is not currently, it is not editable. So you cannot change the PowerPoints, you cannot change the handouts. Everything has been restricted and locked and password protected. Again, the conversation that I'm going to have with my lawyer is, do I want to sell those rights as well? As of right now, I'm kind of leaning toward allowing the rights to translation go, but then still maintaining my intellectual property and not allowing people to make edits to the PowerPoints and the handouts. It may change, but that's where I am right now. So I've answered quite a few questions. I've gave you a lot of information that I had no idea about, that people did not tell me. We're right at about 52 minutes now. So this is great. This is wonderful. I wanted to keep us, an hour or less, and I was able to do that. Thank you all to those that have tuned in. I've seen people jump in and leave. Thank you so much for that. I hope that you found this valuable. I want to remind you of your free gift for joining us and for being here. I'm going to put that back on the screen. Just scan this QR code, and you can download a curriculum development checklist. You don't have to put your email in. You don't have to put your name. You can just go straight to a PDF document that's located in the Dropbox. Download that curriculum development checklist and start training. I do want to share with you ways that I can support you if you're interested in doing exactly what I said you should be doing: developing your curriculum, securing CEs, and licensing it. And if you're interested in doing that, then I'm going to share this news with you. Launching very, very soon, in fact, May 1st, is my Curriculum Development 101 course, and it comes with free mentoring. So I actually think I want to share my screen. Let me get this other checklist hidden there, and I'll leave this here for just a moment. If you want to scan it with your scan the QR code, it will take you directly to the website. I stopped my screen share. Let me, I stopped my camera, sorry. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. And this is my website. And I want to just go over a few things that are included in this Curriculum Development 101 course. Like I said, there's information here about my background as a nurse planner, the work that I do as a CE accreditation consultant, and basically how I've built a business with licensing curriculum and doing training. This course that launches May 1st, it really has three main parts. One, I'm teaching you how to develop a curriculum with step-by-step guidance. You get not only a video tutorial, but you also get the template so that you can put those things into place for each curriculum that you have. I talk to you about how to teach adult learners, how to assess learner needs and identify learning gaps, how to conduct a literature review, how to create your learning outcomes and objectives, how to construct your lesson plan, develop your pre-post test, develop your evaluation survey, and design your certificate of completion. In the second module, or it's actually the third module, I'm sharing with you how to secure CE accreditation. So many of you are not familiar with accreditation, what it is, why you need it, why it's important. I'm sharing that information. I'm also going over the different types of CE accreditation. For instance, there's continuing nursing education, there's continuing medical education, there's CHW certification, there's CHES certification for Certified Health Education Specialists. I may touch on a couple more, but those are the four that I have for now. I have been a nurse planner on like some, not social worker CEs, billing and coding for those type of events because my client is a value-based care agency. But then this really is important for those of you that want to go a little bit further, this accreditation readiness audit. It actually is a template that you can use to make sure you have everything in place before you submit the application for CEs. And then the biggest component again is going to be the curriculum licensing Q&A, that recording, as well as the checklist. All these things that I have said, I've already documented these down. I was reading off some of the notes here. I've written those things down, created a checklist. It's actually more of a guide or a workbook step by step so that you know exactly what you need to do, when you need to do during this process. So that's how I can help you. That's how I can support you. And you know what? I thought I was sharing my screen all that time. That's horrible. But I'm going to pop up. Again, this is the website, quishamemba.com/courses. You can see here the QR code. Go ahead and scan that if you want to go to that website that I was just talking about that shares the information about that course that is coming soon. Curriculum Development 101. It's teaching you how to develop your curriculum, how to get CEs for your curriculum, and how to license your curriculum. And as we get ready to end here, I don't see any other questions. I'm going to just pop up one more thing for you. If you're interested, download the sample course we have at umembahealth.com/free CHW course. Keep in mind, you're going to get added to my email list. You're going to get added to my CRM and immediately started getting automated messages. If you don't want those things, just unsubscribe. But I think this is a great sample to show you how to get started. And I want to thank you all for spending your time with me, for jumping in, jumping out, for asking the questions that you've asked this evening. It's always a joy and a pleasure for me to do this. And I hope that I get to see all of you again very soon. Take care. Have a great night and all the best to you all. Take care. Bye-bye.